So welcome everybody to Sunday Night Live. Normally Cheryl's sitting here, but she said I had a guest. And since I had somebody else to talk to, she was going to take the night off. You know how she is. Can't get much work out of her at all. But no, she was just, she wasn't feeling quite up to it. And I was like, that's fine. We do have with us a very special guest. I'm going to bring her in just a minute. But for those of you that are new to the channel, first thing I always want to know is where everybody's watching from. So I'm in my home office again. That's several weeks in a row, which is for me very nice. And if I'm looking over here to this side, I'm just checking to see because I have Facebook. Oh, that doesn't work if I don't use that mouse. Hold on. Well, they don't seem to want to work for me on the other computer. I was just trying to check and make sure I had all my feeds working, but I see that definitely Instagram is working. And back down here to my studio. Okay, so anyway, we have, like I said, a very special guest. By the way, if you can hear me, okay, do me hit either hit the like button or just put a note in the comments so that I know everybody can hear and see me all right. And if for those of you that aren't subscribed to the channel, do me a favor. If you're on YouTube, subscribe to the channel. If you're on Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, or which one did I miss? I guess that was it. Do me a favor and follow me. Anyway, so thanks for everybody. So I'm going to bring our guest in. And our guest is Mirjana Gligorevic. And she's going to tell us a little bit about her travels. To start with, tell us a little bit about yourself, please.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, America, first of all. So a little bit about myself. As Kenneth said, my name is Mirjana Gligorevic. I am 29 years of age. I live in Australia today, but I am originally from Bosnia. You know, I was born in war. It was a very, very hard time for my parents. And, you know, my mom went into a premature labor. And, yeah, I was born with cerebral palsy. Yeah. And, yeah, all my life, I really had some struggles with being acceptable who I am. From when I was down there to when I immigrated to Australia in 2002, I wore I think it's called an AFO, and I was known by the whole school as the girl with the plastic leg, and I didn't know how to speak the language, and it was just terribly hard for me. Yeah, I never really had many friends. I often used to hang out alone, and then I always knew that more was wrong to me than just my cerebral palsy. So halfway through high school, I was diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder. Some people call Asperger's, some people call autism spectrum. I don't know how you'd like to refer to it. And that was actually a sign of relief that it explained why I was the way I was. And but yeah, I feel like throughout my life, you know, I've just been held by so many. I've just been held back by so many people. I haven't had the chance to reach my full potential. You know, when you have a mild disability like me, all it takes is just a little bit of extra patience or just a little bit of extra time for someone to understand you. But people don't have that either, unfortunately, and that goes in many aspects, from teachers to relationships to school. So when I finished TAFE, like a certificate 4 in tourism, yeah, I found travel to be my special interest, and I decided to go on my first solo travel trip back where I'm from. The region is called the Balkans, but it's made up of Greece, Albania, the former Yugoslav nations, which is Bosnia, Serbia, Croatia, and where else have I gone? Yeah, Macedonia. Yeah, I think those were my countries that I traveled back a few years ago. And, you know, I just found it to be such a wonderful experience that I decided, I decided to release a book to inspire the people about it, which I will tell you a little bit later on.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much. What are some of the challenges you face when you travel?
Okay. Well, as you heard me mention, I have quite a few conditions. One of my primary condition is probably cerebral palsy. So with cerebral palsy, I can struggle a little bit with body stiffness and stuff like that. So long plane flights can be a challenge for me. One of the tricks which I have learned with that is to always pick an aisle seat, which makes getting up and going for regular walks easier and prevents my body with numbness. Then there's the challenge because I also have mild CP with my left hand. Getting my luggage off the I'm not sure what you call it, the cabin on and off independently, where I just ask someone for help. And on the tour, I sometimes feel my balance can be a little bit offside, and sometimes I find it difficult to keep up with the pace of other fast walkers. But one of the things which has helped me as a person with a more physical disability is choosing a multi-age travel group. No discrimination to young people here, of course, but when you're in a multi-age, there always be someone who be a little bit fast, and there's always be someone who be a little bit slower and a little bit more patient. So and I'm not afraid to just ask them for help if I can just grab onto their arm. Most of the time people are really kind in that aspect.
Yeah. Okay. Well, very nice. And so, what are some of the things? What are some of the things that you do, Mirjana, to cope with all of those? You talked about the ILC, but given the challenges you face, if you would like to talk about individually how you handle those.
I've talked about the challenges relating to my CP and how I handle those, didn't I? I can move on to the aspect with my autism now. So with my autism, one of the things which is a struggle for me, like with most people on the spectrum, is the sensory overload. I'm just very sensitive to loud music. But I came very organized. I came to show you what I do to cope with it. I actually brought these boys headphones. My headphones are a little bit old-fashioned. They're a little bit outdated, but you can find newer versions on Amazon. And you see here it has the option where I can't get the camera right. It has you probably can't see on camera, but it's on and off. It turns on this little it's not a complete noise blocker, but it provides such a calming effect to me when I'm oversensitive with noise and stuff like that. And that's the noise aspect of it. And then there's another aspect when you get a little bit nervous. How people on the spectrum are a little bit nervous with different routines or different environments and time changes. One of the tricks which helps with that, I find, and which has helped me greatly when I went over to the Balkans, was going and spending a few times with my family, or for you guys, it can be in a hotel or wherever. Before the actual tour starts, it gives you the day to take in the different time zones, and and then there's also two more tips which I have for which could be helpful for travel with autism and cerebral palsy. I have learned more recently that just like with physical disabilities, autism also qualifies for pre-boarding pass. So you can get into the plane when it's still nice and quiet and there's no sensory overload. And And one of the other things which is great, no, not just for autism, but for any physical not physical, invisible disability, like you, probably for you and your ADHD, you can even go for things like depression or deafness or stuff like that. They have, well, I'm not sure if it's available in every part of US at the moment, but I know it's available in parts of UK and parts of Australia. They have these green sunflower lanyards, which you put around your neck, and they have like a little card which ticks your condition, and it offers more help. Like it can also make you eligible for pre-boarding, or if you need more help, one of the airport staff can discreetly come over to you and help get you ready on your flight, which is great.
Yes, it's interesting that you talked about the sunflower lanyard, where I had run into it, and I'm fine without one, but some of the cruise lines use it so that if somebody is on board that's on the spectrum, especially with really young ones and really old ones, that could get very confused or upset, when the staff sees that, they know that they need help, that they're not acting out, and that's important.
Right.
Okay.
Oh yeah, that's an important tip. Yeah, even I learned something. Thanks for sharing it with me.
Okay, so you wrote a book, and so you want to tell us about your book?
Yeah, I sure did. Here I have the book with me. It's called My Balkan Heart. People often confuse the word Balkan with the word broken. My broken heart, it's actually My Balkan Heart. So Balkan is the name of the region in Southeast Europe where I traveled to. Yeah, I mentioned all those countries in the first question. And I'll bring my book. So with my book, one of the things which has, as I said, after I discovered my big passion for travel, that is definitely one of the things which has inspired me to release this book. And, as I talked about the struggles of being a person with a mild disability, that's another reason why I decided to write this book, because, I have just struggled so much with employment and getting a job. So I thought I might as well make my own up, which is start something by myself, which is being an author. And I do truly believe that travel is a big factor in living life to the fullest. And so that's why I decided to release this book for a number of reasons. Number one is obviously to, help people see what a fully lived life of my version looks like. And the second version is as you can see in the cover photo, the Balkans do look relatively untouched. So I want to raise a little bit of awareness about the beauty of this region, which a lot of I won't say nobody's heard of it, but I would say it still remains relatively undiscovered. And I know, especially during the 90s, it got a lot of bad propaganda and bad things from the media. So I wanted to break a few travel misconceptions about the people and the culture. Yeah, and I just thought it would be nice to, introduce that world for what it really is.
That's very nice. And it's interesting because you and I and Cheryl all do some of the same things, because we try to break the misconception, the fact that if you have mobility challenges, you should stay home. We try to help people see that it's okay to go and do and enjoy. And,
yeah. And so one of the things which I have where there's a will, there's a way, and the world is definitely getting more accessible for people with a disability. One of the main sorry, just a little while I process it. One of the main eye openers which I have saw, which made me see how eye opening how more accessible the world is getting for people with a disability. When I was in Athens, I was walking on the Acropolis, and it was all dirty and sturdy and rocky. The ground was uneven. I was having trouble balancing as a person with mild cerebral palsy, and I had to grab onto the tour guide's hand for help. But then in the middle of it, I saw an elderly woman in a wheelchair. And it made me think, oh, that's beautiful. So even if people in wheelchairs and all that, even if they can't experience some things to the full extent, having just a little taste or just a little opening or view to something, it is makes a big difference.
And that is so true. Cheryl and I always appreciate it when they've made special efforts to make a path or something that works for people in wheelchairs. Cheryl's fortunate; she has a wheelchair that's pretty good on rough ground. So, like we were in Rome recently, and where all the cobblestones are, and her wheelchair was fine on it. A little noisy, but it was fine.
Australia has also designed what is called a magic mobility wheelchair. I can't tell you the specifics. You might have to look it up yourself. But it's a great wheelchair. It enables you to adapt, and it's very adaptable and electronic. It functions very well. It is quite expensive at the moment, but one of my friends said that it's worth every cent. Yeah. And but other than that, talking about breaking the misconceptions when I travel, one of the reasons why I have released this book is not just for disability misconceptions, but it's also from a cultural perspective, for cultural reasons. Because as I said, that part of the world, especially where I'm from, they received a lot of negative propaganda from the Western countries. And it has beautiful pictures which show. Here, I'll just give you a sneak peek example, which shows what the world is. And I just thought it would be very nice if somebody has a taste or has a view to see a place for what it really is.
And I think that's so helpful. And looking at the pictures in your book, I looked on Amazon and thumbed through some of the pages there and looked at it. And again, it looks like a very beautiful country, and things have changed there significantly since right after the breakdown of the Soviet Union. Things have. There was some challenges immediately after that, sorting things out, but I look forward to a time when I can get up there to visit. There are so many places. I haven't been to Australia, and I have a bad desire to go there. And I haven't been to the Balkans. I haven't been to Greece. We did do Spain and France, a little bit of Spain, France, and Rome or Italy, but so many places to see in so little time.
Yeah. So as I said, that is another reason why, because it's not something that's the first option to go for many travelers, but for those travelers who are wanting to see as much of the world as they can, my book is a great insight and a great travel guide for those who do decide to go to the Balkans, of how they can travel and make the most out of it.
Okay, so does Croatia fall in the Balkans as well, or is it not part of the Balkans?
Yeah. Croatia does as well. So it's all of the former Yugoslav states: Bosnia, Serbia, Croatia, and Greece does, and Albania does, North Macedonia does, Slovenia does, but I haven't been to Slovenia just yet. And Bulgaria and Romania, they also do, but I haven't been there either.
Oh, okay. So I will be in, because we're going on a cruise in May of next year. We'll start from Barcelona, but we'll wind up going around Italy, go to Malta, and then we're going to go to Split and Dubrovnik, and then from Dubrovnik back to Venice. So I'll have a little chance to visit a piece of the Balkans. I know, I know one day in Split, one day in Dubrovnik is not a tour of the Balkans, but.
That does sound beautiful, and I have also mentioned, I have also been to Dubrovnik and Split, and I have also mentioned in those places in Croatia, so I have some good tips for accessibility with a wheelchair, getting into the beach with a wheelchair where they have good options. Yeah, but other than that, yeah, Croatia is a beautiful country because it has the beach. It has the most beautiful beaches on the Balkans. But yeah, I feel like there's other beautiful parts of the Balkans too, like Bosnia, it has Mostar, and Serbia. It shares a border with 7 different countries, but it's one of the least visited. But Belgrade, the capital of Serbia, that will always have like a special place in my heart because a lot of it's a very humble place with humble people and a lot of childhood memories I have coming from Belgrade.
Yeah. And it's interesting because I had a chance to interview somebody from Romania that does accessible tours. So we talked a lot about Romania. And by the way, Rhonda said, Mirjana, what an amazing story. She really appreciates you sharing.
Oh, thank you. Oh, yeah. And talking about Romania and how you're going on a cruise. That actually reminds me of something else. So you know Danube, which is one of the. So sorry. First of all, thank you very much, Rhonda. See, I said with my autism, I might have an urge to go all over the place. Thank you for being very patient and not overwhelming. Thank you very much, Rhonda, for your nice compliment. Anyway, the Danube travels 7 European countries, and Belgrade, that is on the banks of Sava and Danube. And also for those people who are wondering who really like cruises and were interested in going cruising the Balkans, I heard that the boats often stop in beautiful part of Ohrid, which is North Macedonia. It's beautiful there, and I talk about that place in my book as well.
Oh, well, very nice. I have to get your book and read it because I think it will be very handy when I go to that part of the world. And when I get to Europe, I may stay longer than I'm with a group that I'm taking and hosting, but Cheryl and I may stay longer because we often, if she has to fly that far, because she's like she has problems with her back is fused and she's got replaced hips and replaced knee.
Yeah.
And so it's hard for her to fly a long time. In fact, when we went to Barcelona, we got her she traveled in business class with a lay flat seat so she could get stretched out and not have to sit for 6 hours, in a chair.
Yeah. But sorry, go on.
I was just going to say, so if we get to Europe, it's possible that we'll stay and do some other things because there is so much to see there.
Yeah, they sure are. And the Balkans, a lot of people don't, a lot of people can't believe how close the countries are, especially Bosnia, Serbia, Croatia, and Macedonia even. It has some very good buses. It has some very good buses and very good bus options. And it doesn't take very long to get from place A to place B by bus at all.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I was surprised. We found accessibility, in the area we visited in Europe, very good. I would say better than in the U.S. because I could get accessible taxis. The buses were accessible. The tour buses, we did the hop on, hop off buses, and those were very accessible in all the places we went, the trains. So, I am looking forward to visiting more because of the ease of access, actually.
Yeah. Well, I do talk about some of the challenges in my book too. Like one of my challenges was that I had difficulty finding a taxi, but I am happy, as you're saying, that the world is becoming a more accessible place for people in a wheelchair and with a physical disability. Yeah, I think it's just a matter of doing your research a little bit ahead of time. And if you're going with a specific tour company, if you have their email or contact details, don't be afraid to email them specific questions. For an example, will there be help with airport transfers or luggage transfers from the reception to my hotel room? You can get some very good information.
And that's very helpful information because, and that's, I got started doing this because it was so hard and you had to do so much research. So I'm like, okay, I'll do the research for people because that's something I'm good at. And with my ADHD, it makes it something that I enjoy doing, because it's something different every few minutes. It's not the same thing all day. So like I said, it worked out good from a couple of perspectives. Well, listen, Mirjana, if you want to stay for just a few minutes, I'm going to say goodbye to the audience, and then I can talk for chat just a second afterwards.
Okay. No worries. We forgot. Oh, thank you very much, dear. We forgot to answer some of the other questions, which is what advice do you have for people with a disability who may be afraid to travel?
Okay. Well, I'll let you talk to that then. I forgot we had that question. So go ahead and tell me about it.
Yeah. So travel is a very broad term. So when you say travel, there are a few different regions. Actually, not a few different regions, like a few different ways. So there's obviously bus, plane. There's a car, trip travel, and a train and a boat. So yeah, travel in itself is a very broad term. So you can think about what feels the most accessible to you and research a little bit about that too. I can share one of my other challenges which I had and how I overcame it, what inspired me and made me think, oh, I can actually travel. So one of the things which has been very high on my to-go-to list was Switzerland and the Swiss mountains. But I have often thought to myself, oh, how will I get over the steep hills and all that kind of stuff? And then when I talk to a few people who have actually been there and who have actually been on a tour, which I'm interested in, they said the walking component isn't that much of a challenge, because the train ride gets you everywhere, and it's about more about when you get off, you have a little sneak peek of the places, but it's one of the things which is a challenge is the high altitude levels. Thank you, Rhonda.
And it's interesting because you talked about that. My wife, in addition to the, our physical challenges, she does not like heights at all. And so, like going up, the one with the cogs, anyway, or a tram or something like that. Those are pretty much no-goes for her. Same as for Pam, who's with us today. She and my wife are very similar in that they don't like heights. We actually visited Pam up in Nova Scotia on a cruise last fall, and neither of them wanted the heights. But for me, it wasn't bad. I managed to get Cheryl into a tram, and she was doing okay with her eyes closed. And then I said she should look out and see the view. And then for the rest of the time, I can't use the audio from that video. I have the video, but I can't play the audio.
Fair enough. So one of the things which my advice would probably be, so if you're going to places like that, I'm just reading the comments. Thanks so much. Me too. No, hi, hello. So one of the things which does help in those situations is researching on the internet how to get used to different altitude levels. Some people believe that having some teas may help, reduce the anxiety. Yeah, it's a little bit similar to doing research on different time zones, but yeah.
It's interesting. I grew up in the mountains, and I've never had a problem with altitude sickness, though I've lived out in flat country down close to sea level for the last 30 years. So if I went back to the mountains now, it might be very different because that area is pretty thin up there. Makes for great views, but it makes for a little bit of shortage of oxygen sometimes.
Yeah. And that also brings me to, it reminds me when I was in Meteora, which is a part of Greece, I climbed so many stairs, probably hundreds of stairs. And that was probably one of the highlights of my travel. And I felt on top of the world.
Oh, yeah. It's very nice to be able to get up and to see. Like I said, I love going. If I had lived, in the U.S. back in 150 years ago, I'd have been out in front of a wagon train taking a group of settlers to see what was over the next hill. Because I read a quote once I'll share, and I thought it was so much, and it kind of ties to what you've done. It said that travel is like a book. and people that don't travel have only read one page.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And another quote which I also like is, "We travel not to escape life, but so that life does not escape us." And that is one of the reasons why I released the book. Yeah, as I said, I believe that travel is a big factor in living life to the fullest, and I hope that my book encourages people to live life to the fullest. And
Yeah, I'm sure it will. Okay, well, like I said, we'll say goodbye to the audience, and then you and I can chat for just a
thank
second.
you so much for everybody who's tuned in and listened to me. Thank you so much for all your support. And let me say thank you in advance for those people who intend on purchasing my book. I love great reviews.
Yeah, and again, as always, thanks to the audience. We really appreciate everybody for being here and joining us again. If you're not subscribed, not following me, we do this every week. Sometimes it's Cheryl and I talking about places and things. Sometimes we're fortunate to have a guest as nice as Mirjana tonight. So we've had a great time, and we will see everybody. Like I said, I use the same. We'll see everybody next week, same bat time, same bat channel. And if you know what that quote stands for, you're way old. All right, we'll see everybody. Bye.
See ya, everyone.